Hi everyone, this is Jess and I'm filming this video to give my kind of first impressions and experience with building the 3D Simo Kit 2. So if you're watching this, you probably got it in your model kit, and I'm kind of just going to go through some background about the pen and some obstacles that I faced while building it and some positives of building it. So first of all, the 3D Simo Kit 2, I found this pen online. It's from a Czech Republic company, 3D Simo. And it is an open source multi-tool kit, which means it comes with multiple attachments. It has a foam cutter attachment, a soldering pen or soldering iron, and a wood burning toolkit, as well as the 3D printing kit. I focused mostly on the 3D printing kit because it looked to be one of the most complicated ones for a number of reasons. There's a little bit more involved in terms of extruding filament. It's open source, meaning it's customizable and programmable. So that means in terms of customizable, you can actually, create your own models for the pen shell itself and 3D print them. When I actually ordered this, 3D Simo sent me some 3D print files of a shell with flowers down the side. And then there's also communities online that share 3D models for printing parts to these. Or if you need to print a replacement part, it allows you to do that, which is actually really helpful in a lot of respects. As opposed to buying a fully built pen for more money, it's a little bit harder to replace parts for that when they're made through a different manufacturing process. In terms of programmable, that means that you can actually, this is an Arduino kit. There's little chips and boards in here, which you'll see when you open up the package. But you can, I honestly don't have too much experience with electronics. The most I know how to do is solder something, but there are ways to kind of program your pen. For example, if you want to use a different material like nylon filament, you can program the pen to recognize that you're inputting nylon filament and you want it to be this temperature when it turns on, and you want it to say nylon filament. So there's probably other ways, even cooler ways to program this, but there's a whole online community for that. So if that's something that interests you, I totally suggest checking that out. In terms of building this itself, as I said before, these are 3D printed parts. Just so you can see here, this is what you'll receive. You might even receive different colors. I don't really know. It seems to be that way, but what that means is the parts are not perfect because they're made from a 3D printer. And this is something that we don't always realize about 3D printers, is that they're not perfect and they mess up all the time. And the human eye may not be able to catch this at first. So that's okay. There's ways we can fix that. Just a little before I get into the build, some tools you're going to need are a flathead screwdriver. You don't really need the Phillips, but it's just a tiny boy. Here's the screw that you need to screw in. There was only one for this particular section of building, so it's really not a lot. And they actually gave me 2 screws, so they give you a backup just in case, or maybe it goes to another part. But there are some, other things that you might need to screw in for the other parts, but it's really not super hard. It's just kind of small hand screwing. You also will need, this is really helpful to have, a box cutter knife, whatever, to chip away at parts. I kind of started with this. I didn't use it too much, but it was nice to have on hand. And then also the most important tool here was my sandpaper. This is 100 grit. Again, I found it in my dad's toolbox. You can probably use really any grit. I just used a coarser one because I thought it would kind of sand down the plastic faster, but whatever you can find. If you don't have some of these materials, just let me know. You can check in with maybe your neighbor or a friend. Either way. So as I said before, the parts are not perfect. That means I had to do a couple modifications myself. And I'm gonna just show you a modification I had to do on the main board. This is the one that held me up the longest. I didn't really have any issues with the 3D printed part, to be honest with you. But when I was building this main body bit, and I'm gonna open it up to kind of explain to you. So a lot of these pieces snap together. So you can see I just kind of snapped out this bottom piece. This is a tube that the filament feeds through. So like you would feed the filament through this hole, it would go through this tube, and then when this is connected, it would feed through this tube out of the extruder. So this tube and this like bit that holds it together come out, and you're left with this shell, the button piece, and the electronics board. I'm just gonna carefully, when I handle electronics, I just do it carefully. They're pretty tough, but you know, you just want to be gentle with them, especially the parts that have wires. You don't want to break the wires, that'll mess up your whole thing. Here's the main board. Looks a little scary at first. There's 2 buttons here, which do the main controls for the board. I was having issues though with the button piece. So when I had first put it in, it wasn't actually fitting in at all into my into the like hole here. So what I had to do was hack in there a little bit with this guy. Like I started off with this, and then I was like, okay, let me go get some sandpaper. You could probably use a Dremel too if you have one, but you want to err on the side of caution just so it doesn't become, the hole doesn't become too big for the button. So I just sanded it down a little bit, and the button fits in now. You know, just, it's a little bit of it's an iterative process, so you want to sand a little bit and try to fit things in. You might experience this with other parts of the project where you need to sand down little bits, or, you know, cut something off a little bit, because you can see that there's, especially on the button here, I'm just going to show you, like, the 3D printer is not perfect, and you can see here in the extrusion part, the extrusion just came out like not even a little bit, and that's okay, that happens. But you just want to sand that down if that is causing an issue with fitting. Also, plastic expands and contracts when it heats up and cools down. So keep that in mind, and be patient with it. And if anything comes up when I'm building the other parts, I'll let you know. But for now, I got my 3D pen to work. And, you know, just contact me if you have any questions, or want to know more about the pen or what you can do with it, and I'll try to kind of keep up with some of these videos. Yeah, thanks.